Are you tired of sugarcoating how you feel about infertility? The Infertility in Me podcast offers raw and candid discussions about all things infertility and IVF. Join me, Monique, your host, as we get real about the emotional, physical, and mental effects of infertility and what it does to its victims. Hashtag infertility sucks. Please be advised, adult content and language.
So we have Jennifer Robertson today all the way from Australia. How exciting is that? She's coming on to give her journey of 7+ years, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Jennifer, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so she's just going to tell us a little bit about her journey to parenthood and motherhood and what that was like for her. So can we start at the beginning, Jennifer? How long were you guys married before you decided to have children?
We actually decided to have kids to start having or trying to have children when we were on our honeymoon. So we'd been together for about a year and a half, and I was 33 at the time that I got married. So I guess in pregnancy years, that is quite old, and I was feeling the pressure. So when we were on our honeymoon, we actually decided to start trying. It was all planned. I am a huge planner down to the minute, the hour, absolutely everything. So I had actually predicted, I'm going to fall pregnant and have straight away and have a baby in 9 months, and then this will be happening. So I had it all planned out perfectly in my head how it was going to turn out, and how it turned out, I couldn't have been further from the picture in my head. So I was 33, we just got married, we were on our honeymoon, we were trying to have a baby, and after about 3 months and nothing had happened, I was a little bit disappointed.
Okay.
And then after 6 months and still nothing happening, I was getting a little bit worried. And so we went to our local doctor, and they prescribed me to go to a fertility specialist straight away. Okay. And so we didn't even think about it. I'm very much the type of person that if I have a problem, I look for a solution, and they were promising me a solution. So to be honest with you, when we were trying to decide whether we go down the IVF path, it just wasn't a consideration for me. We were both working, we had enough money, and as I said, I had a problem, and this was the solution that we thought. So we pretty much jumped straight into IVF.
Okay.
And so that was probably about a year after we had started trying. We jumped straight into IVF.
Wow. And you went through the whole workup, of course, with the hysteroscopy and things like that to determine what was causing your infertility, or did you have unexplained infertility?
Well, it was unexplained, and so there was just no reason. We'd done an exploratory surgery, and they couldn't see anything, so it was just IVF. And so we went through the first cycle, and we actually got a few embryos, which was fantastic. But when they went to do the transfer, they discovered that I didn't have a lining on my uterus, and that there was nothing that they could see that was causing it. And so we tried a couple of things, and it didn't work. And so my IVF specialist at the time, she said that she would go away and do some research to see how we could thicken up my lining, because obviously if your lining's not thick, you can't do a transfer. It's just there's nothing for the embryo to stick to. So she said that she'd go away and do some research, and we never heard back from her. So obviously we were put into the too hard basket for her, which was really disappointing. And this journey is completely filled with moments where you feel like you're floating. And for someone like me, I'm very type A personality. I need a process to follow. I need a to-do list. I just need to feel like I'm moving forward.
All those analytical things. Yeah.
Yeah, but we were floating for the first time in quite some, or what would actually be a lot of times that we were floating in this whole 7-year process. So that was the first taste. And we went around and we did some research and we tried different diets. We tried acupuncture. We even saw a sign one day for a homeopath, and she was offering a money back guarantee. She would be able to make you fall pregnant or give you your money back. And so we went there, and 3 months later she was giving us our money back because that didn't work either. And so we kept on floating. And then a couple of months later, I got in touch with another fertility specialist that a friend had recommended to me. And that set us on a whole different path that we never really thought that we would go down. And so they did more tests, and we tried vitamin E tablets, we tried Viagra pessaries, all of the things, more exploratory surgeries to try to thicken my lining. And then eventually they came to the conclusion that there was no other way for us to conceive a child that was ours naturally other than surrogacy.
Wow. And you're actually the first person I've had on the podcast thus far, and I'm a very new podcast, as you know, that has the surrogacy experience. So this is great, and I'm glad that I was able to get you on here and we were able to coordinate our schedules, because I'm pretty sure that there's plenty of people out there listening who, you know, at some point, or if for medical reasons like yourself, they may have to go that route to grow their family. And so did you guys wait after you realized that you're going to have to do surrogacy? How long did you wait before you went on to that path?
Well, we were really lucky. So lucky in one respect, unlucky in another. So in Australia, commercial surrogacy is not legal at all. So you need to actually know the person, and it cannot be for commercial gain. So you can't pay someone. They just have to do it out of the goodness of their heart, which is such a big ask of anyone who's ever had a child, to just do that off their own bat. And we were very, very lucky in the fact that my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, had, when we were struggling, she'd actually put her hand up and said flippantly, well, I'll have a baby for you. And little did she know that a few months later, we'd actually be knocking on her door and going, well, are you serious? Because this is what we're told we have to do now. And yeah, she said yes, which is just, I look back now, and having gone through what I've gone through myself personally, it's one of the biggest things that anyone can ever do for you without financial gain. So we weren't paying her. She was just doing this for the love of it, which I think is just such an amazing thing. There are some really beautiful people out there, and we're very blessed that we have her in our life. So yes, we decided, we agreed she was going to be our surrogate, and that started us on a whole new, very, very long process. And so in Australia, you have to go before a board of doctors and prove that this is the only way that you can actually have a baby naturally. So they have to approve it. You have to you have to get a surrogacy agreement drawn up. So you both have to have legal advice. We had to go and see counselors. Renee had a husband and 2 boys of her own. So they had to undergo the counseling, because from their point of view, their, you know, her boys, their mum was actually going to have a baby, but it wasn't going to be their little brother or sister. So that was a whole thing that had to be explained to them as well. And so we took all of our family on this journey, and eventually probably took us about 6 months from deciding that we were going to go down the surrogacy route to actually having it signed off and then going, okay, let's proceed with this now.
Wow, I can only imagine. Oh my gosh, that's just so touching. I apologize. I was sniffling because I had tears in my eyes. That is the most selfless act. One of the most selfless acts that I could ever think of that somebody would do for a family member. That, and it being your sister-in-law. Oh my God, that just brings.
I know, it gives me goosies now every time I talk about it, because it's such a beautiful thing. And but I guess at the same tone, at that point, I was handing over responsibility, or I was handing over this beautiful gift, this thing, this picture that I had in my hand of, I'd always pictured that I'd be pregnant.
Right.
And so on this journey, on this fertility journey, there are so many moments that we're grieving, because we're having to say goodbye to that picture that we had in our head. You know, we thought that it would happen straight away, and it's not. We would thought that it would happen via love making, out of love, instead of going down the IVF path and it being, you know, conceived in a laboratory. And same with us. So surrogacy for me was a part, while I felt really blessed, I was also grieving the idea that I would actually be able to feel my baby kick, my baby grow inside of me, and get to know them beforehand. So it was beautiful, but it also was disappointing that this is what we had to do. And it was also fearful as well, because we all have that fear. When you go down the path of surrogacy, we all think, will they give me the baby back? Because all of a sudden, and I've spoken to so many women who have been surrogates or who have been on the other side, and we all have that fear. But from the perspective of the woman who's carrying the baby, she doesn't want it. And from the outset, and we've spoken to Renee since then, and she always knew that it was her nephew or her niece that she was going to be carrying. And same with her boys, like her children always knew that it was their cousin that was actually inside her. So that's one of the fears that we go in, but it's not really a valid, or it doesn't really come to pass. So I think on this journey as well, we have all of these fears that really never come true.
Yeah, and that's one of the many side effects of infertility, you know, raising our anxieties, raising our fears, and just making us all around kind of batty a little bit when we're going through these things, while trying to also stay positive, you know?
Absolutely. The thoughts that go in around and around in our head really have a huge impact on absolutely everything, you know, our mental state, our physical state as well. So yes, we're all there, and we decided, yep, let's do this. And then it didn't happen. And so we have had the first transfer. We were like, yes, we had this picture in our head again. You'd think I would have learnt by now to get rid of that picture in my head. But, you know, we were like, yes, this is going to happen, first go. And it didn't happen first go. So we were really disappointed about that. And then I had to go for another egg pickup. So I was going through IVF cycles, creating embryos, and then having them implanted into Renee. And we did that for quite some time. We did that, and I didn't really realize how long we were on that roller coaster for, until I decided in February that I was going to write a book about my journey. And it wasn't until I had to go back to the medical records, because for me it was just such a blur. It was this thing where we're in it and we can't see anything else, and it becomes this vicious cycle that we just need to get to the finish line. And we shut out absolutely everything else out. So for 5 years we were on that roller coaster trying to conceive our little boy via a surrogate. And 5 years, I really had no idea how many cycles that we went through. And when I tallied it up at the end, it was 9 cycles that we went through to try to get our little boy. And I guess the really tough thing was, if it wasn't tough enough, was the fact that we were dragging her and her family along with us. So it wasn't just us that had made the decision. She was living our fertility or infertility journey as well. And so it was tough. She had a miscarriage, and that was probably one of the toughest points as well, because we had done this to her, and we never and she'd never had a miscarriage before, so this was something that was completely new for all of us. And I guess we just kind of retreated into our corners, because we couldn't comfort each other, because we were just so we was trying to be so brave for each other, I think.
Yeah.
And it was just the three of us in this vicious cycle that we could not escape. But that miscarriage, as devastating as it was, because of course she felt guilt as well, because she was trying to make us a baby and she couldn't. And so she was taking on all of this responsibility, because she now felt responsibility for the fact that we didn't have a baby, and it wasn't her fault. It was no one's fault. And so after that miscarriage, it sparked something in us, and I can't put my finger on it, but in this journey we forget to hope. Well, it's not that we forget to hope. We don't like to hope, because we feel that if we have too much hope, then we'll be even more disappointed.
Yeah.
And so, but what this miscarriage did was it gave us hope, because all of a sudden we hadn't fallen pregnant. I'd never seen 2 lines on a pregnancy test before, ever. And all of a sudden we knew that we could do it. And so we took a break for a little while, and we all came back and just were like, this is going to happen. We are going to do this. And a couple of cycles later, we fell pregnant again, and this one stuck. And now we have little Luca, who just turned 5 years old last week. Yeah. So it was a huge journey. It had so many ups and downs. It had so many beautiful moments. It had so many moments where I was wrestling with this picture in my head, and you know, I never got to feel Luca, you know, his first movements. I missed out on so much. But when it gets to the end, and when you get that baby in your arms, it all kind of floats away, and it doesn't matter anymore, because you've got to the end and you've got what you wanted.
Yeah, and the baby's there in your arms, ready to go. Oh wow, well that is the journey. Wow, and it's, you know, the blessing all of this is that you guys, I'm sure, that are very much closer to your sister-in-law. Of course, your husband and his sister are always close, but it has probably brought you guys into a relationship of closeness that you probably wouldn't have had not going through all of this. I can only imagine, and I won't assume. So I'm going to ask you, had it brought you and your sister-in-law closer especially once you got to the end and the baby was there and the new life was there for you guys as family?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just love seeing Luca and her together. It's just this beautiful moment. And there's no point in time where I think she took something away from us, or I missed out on something, or that I wish things were different. I now have got to the end, and our story doesn't end there. But I got to that point where I just didn't feel, I mean, it's beautiful. It is seriously beautiful now, just looking at them, because she has such a love for him, and they have this nice little bond that's just, and they have this beautiful little story as well that we can tell them and we share with other people. And I must admit, to begin with, I didn't embrace it, because I still felt it was a sign of weakness on my behalf, the fact that I couldn't do it myself, the fact that I had to outsource it. And for a long time I did kind of shy away from telling people, because I didn't like our story. And so it doesn't end there. 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks after Luca was born, I fell pregnant myself.
What a strange turn of events. That is incredible.
I know.
Wow.
I know. And I know that we say to everyone who's still on their journey, just relax and it'll happen.
Yes.
And I don't, you know, everyone who's on that journey and someone tells them to relax, it's the most insensitive thing that you can probably say to someone.
Absolutely.
But it was proof that, I just was in such a beautiful space, and I was feeling an immense amount of love, and I wasn't stressed. I wasn't trying. I wasn't pushing. I wasn't doing all of those things. And all of a sudden it came back. And this journey as well, no one really talks about the effect that it has on your relationship.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
And my husband and I have only really now, and it's 10 years since we started trying for a baby, we've only just now really started to rebuild our relationship.
Yeah.
And started to talk about the effect that a fertility journey has on the male as well, because we're just trying to survive, and it's our body, and it's, I guess, from a female perspective, I used to think it's my responsibility and I am failing. And so now we're just talking about it, and the effect that it has on your relationship is really, really, it's big. And as I said, we just don't talk about it. So we're talking about it
Wonderful.
now.
Wonderful.
And you know, so after we had this baby, we started having sex again. And not that we weren't before, but it just was from a different perspective. It was no longer with the shadow or that umbrella of infertility hanging over our heads, because it wasn't, it's a timed thing, or we can't have sex now because I'm just going through a cycle, or you know, it just came back. And yeah, as soon as that came back, as soon as I took a step back and stopped pushing so much, and stopped focusing on the fertility and the impact that it was having on my life, it happened. And it's unexplained, completely unexplained.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, do you feel like after little Luca was born, and you guys started reconnecting on a deeper level, do you kind of feel like you picked up where you left off after getting married, because you guys were newlyweds in the beginning of the infertility process?
I think this journey changes you. I think it changes your relationship. So I don't think we went straight back to where we were. I think it was just a different type of relationship, and we're evolving all of the time. So it wasn't the old days. And to be honest with you, we had a baby, so it's not going to be going back to the way it was on our honeymoon to any degree at all. But it was freer. It was a lot freer. There was no trying. So it was, I believe that it was in a better spot. And so here I was, pregnant with a 2-week-old newborn baby, and shocked. We were very shocked. And you know, it was something that had never happened before. And so after we got over the shock, because we thought, well, Luca was just going to be our only baby, and we were quite happy with that. And so we kind of stepped off that roller coaster. And it was about 6 weeks later, I had a miscarriage. And that if I had to choose one moment on the fertility journey where I was the lowest, the angriest, the absolutely seething, it was that moment, because I had finally gotten off that fertility roller coaster.
Right.
Only to be thrown back on with this surprise pregnancy, which I had really been longing for all along. It was, I just wanted to carry my own baby. I just wanted to get that positive pregnancy test. I just wanted to feel absolutely everything. I wanted the morning sickness. I wanted the labor. I wanted to experience absolutely everything. And so then we were like, we're on. And I was told that, yes, you're going to have everything that you had possibly dreamed of. And then it was taken away so suddenly. And I was angry because we'd gotten off, and we were living our happily ever after. And we'd gone through so much over those 5 years to get where we were. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't really appreciate it. I couldn't really live in it and be happy in that moment, because I was mourning the loss of another baby.
It's just so tumultuous and so arduous sometimes, the way things transpire in our lives. And like you said, you know, to be fully present and mindful in the situation of Luca now being here, and then feeling stuck. Did you kind of feel stuck a little bit after the miscarriage? Because it's like, well, goodness gracious, I've got to be happy for the new baby, but I'm also sad for the one I just lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and it still upsets me when I think about it now, but it showed me so much as well. Number one, it showed me, hang on, I can get pregnant. So while I was down and really low, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, there's a little bit of hope here.
Yeah.
There's something that I didn't really realize. And it also gave me an appreciation. I don't know whether it's an appreciation is the right word, but I realized then what Renee had gone through.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to feel what she had gone through when she had her miscarriage. And so I was able to perhaps support or just feel what she went through. So
The
I could
empathy
really
of it.
appreciate, yes, I could
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the
Mm-hmm.
full magnitude of what she did
She
for
experienced.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we picked ourselves up like we did on many occasions on our fertility journey, which is exactly what we do. We grieved, we picked ourselves up, and we dusted ourselves off, and we kept on getting at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I never told my husband this, but I was secretly trying. You know how when you're trying but you're not trying?
Yes,
It's one of those things where we're just going to have a break
Yeah.
this month. Meanwhile, in your head, you're still trying because you're still monitoring absolutely everything. Yeah, yes. And so 6 months later, we fell pregnant again, completely unexplained. And then, yeah, it stuck. And now we have Sophie, who's 3.5.
You
And
said
so
Sophie is 6 months after the miscarriage.
yes, yeah. So there's 17 months in between Luca and Sophie. And we have our perfect little family. And once again, me having Sophie cemented the realization of, once again, the magnitude of what Renee had done for us, because I had actually been pregnant and felt the impact and the physical, the emotional impacts that being pregnant has on your body. And I keep on saying to Renee, you did that for us. You had a miscarriage. You went through the whole journey with us. You had a baby for us. And it still blows my mind that someone would have done that for no other reason but love.
Yeah, and that is the true definition. Your story is the true definition of unconditional love, and everything that it means in every sense of the word unconditional. You know what I mean? Just purely, that is just such an awesome journey that you guys
absolutely.
went on when you think about it from the positive end of it. And
yes, I'm exhausted just thinking about it. And but it's one of those things where you just do what you have to do. And if you really want the result at the end, if you are confident that this is what you want, you will go through and you will endure so much just to get what you want. And I've always been a big believer, if you work hard at something, you're going to get it. And infertility was the first time that I was actually taught, well, no, it doesn't matter the harder you work that you're gonna get it. But it taught me that if you keep on picking yourself up and learning all along the path, then the journey is so much more important than anything else.
Yeah, because I always tell people, that you're going to reach your destination, but how you go through the middle parts to the end is significant, because it will make or break you, and it will, and it can be it will go through it, and how you deal with it in the midst of the journey. And it's not going to be perfect, and I'm not saying that it should be, but getting through it, like you said, the best way that you can, without going completely insane, is what makes us human. And I don't know about you, but I feel like when I went through the journey myself, it made me more vulnerable, and it made me more empathetic to other people. And do you feel that it brought out another side of you, a more emotional side of you, because you said that you are an A-type, alpha female type? Do you think that it brought out a more emotional side of you that has helped you become a better mother, or be a better mother?
100%. And I'll be honest with you, while we were on our journey, we probably didn't handle it the way that you should. And now looking back, I've learned so much just from reflecting on the things that we went through, the things that we could have done better. And there are so many lessons that I have learned that I now am implementing into my life. And you're 100% right. I do believe that there's a lesson, and this has taught me resilience. It has taught me patience. It has taught me to let go of that picture in our head of how we think that things are going to turn out or how they're supposed to. It has taught me to let go of perfection. Things don't need to be perfect. They just need to be done. So I've learned so many things on this journey, and that has helped me become a better mother, because you need all of those things, because it's not perfect. You have no control. You need patience. And so if I was the person on my honeymoon trying to raise 2 children, they'd eat me up alive. Whereas now I feel like it's taught me so many things along the way that it really does help now. And because there were so many learnings, and because there were so many things that I felt like I could have done better, it's led me on the path that I'm on now. So now I'm a fertility mentor and coach. So now I'm helping other women who are going through exactly the same as what I've gone through, because my journey included everything that you can possibly think of.
You went through it.
Yeah, we went through the surrogacy. I went through supporting someone else go through a miscarriage. We went through IVF cycles. We went through failed egg pickups. I went through a pregnancy myself. I went through a miscarriage. Like, our story encompasses absolutely everything. So, and as I was saying, I learned so many things that I did on the way, and it wasn't do what I do. This is, I now know how I can make it easier for other women who are on this journey. And it is such a lonely journey. You would know yourself. It's so lonely. As much as you have friends and family around you who are supportive, they don't say the right things, even though they mean well. They don't do the right things. They don't know how to comfort you. And we don't know how to comfort, how to get comfort either. We don't know what we want. But what gives us comfort is knowing that we're not alone, and knowing that there are other women out there who have been through it, who know, who have felt all of the same things, and who have got out the other side as well. And there's comfort in, all of the thoughts that your audience and the women who are still on this journey are having. They're all valid. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you're not happy for your friend who's just announced their pregnancy. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person, because we all have the same thoughts. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you're angry that you have to go down this path. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just, all of the thoughts that we have, we all have them. And until we start talking about it, then we kind of sit in this little bubble, and we push it down, and we push it down, and we push it down. And then all of a sudden you're at work, you're sitting at your desk, someone says the wrong thing, and you just blast them without knowing why. And it's because we keep it all in. But there is such comfort and therapy in sharing and talking within a safe container as well. I don't mean that you have to shout it out on Instagram if you don't want to. You don't have to do all of those things. There are places that you can go to that will provide you with the comfort to know that you're not alone, and when you can actually speak freely without fear of judgment.
And I love the one of the tips you have here, or things to remember for those who are in the journey, about being resilient and being patient in the journey. I think that's important, because there will be there's so many people, acquaintances, family members, everybody who come to you asking, when are you guys going to have kids? When are you going to have, for me, it was when I was going to have another one. When, I was about the same age when we started our journey as you were. So it was like, people are asking me all the time, are you guys going to slow down and have kids? people outside of the family. Are you guys going to have kids? Do you want two kids? All of these different things without even knowing what you were going through and what you were dealing with in your personal life. And the journey teaches you not only to be patient for having a baby and creating a family, but how to deal with people and navigating the patients dealing with people because they're just ignorant to what you're going through.
Absolutely. And that's what I do now. So I do one-on-one coaching with women. Like I run a number of programs. I have a private Facebook community where I pour into
Awesome.
and provide with tips and tricks on how you can deal with it. And I guess from what I have learned, like the big thing for me and what I teach all of the women who kind of come into my community is that this journey does not have to consume you. It doesn't have to become all of you. And it's so easy, and you don't even realize it, that you wake up one day and you don't remember what you like. You don't remember the last time that you actually went out and laughed, and you don't remember how you want to feel. It's just this all-consuming thing, and you don't realize until you're completely underneath. And I'll admit, I lived 5 years it was 5 years of living a half life that I never felt joy. I never felt all of the things. I was just going through the motions because I had this goal of having a baby, and that was it. Whereas now I teach women that they can actually be these amazing people. They don't have to sacrifice absolutely everything. Fertility can be a part of their life, but it doesn't have to absolutely be the be-all, end-all consuming thing, because I think we think that a baby fixes absolutely everything. These are feelings and things, and you would know yourself, they don't just go away as soon as you get a baby in your arms. These are valid feelings that this is life-changing, this journey that we're on, and it just doesn't go away. I still remember quite some time ago, I would see someone who was pregnant, or someone would tell me that they were pregnant, and even though I had 2 babies of my own, I still had that habit, that twinge of and then I would have to remind myself, well, I don't have to be angry anymore because I'm on the other side. And still to this day, when I get my period, I still have that pang of disappointment. Because it was a habit that we had for so long. So it's so important that while we're on this journey, we need to live, not that we've got our life on hold. We need to just be us, and we need to remember that we're amazing regardless of whether we have a baby or not. And there are so many things that we can do, and you were talking about the insensitive comments and things like that. And there are so many things that we can do to set boundaries. And I actually have a coaching client that I had a call with her last night, and she's doing this on her own. So she doesn't have a partner, which I just think is one of the most bravest things. And she's doing this all by herself. And well, obviously she has me and she has friends and family, but you know, she's doing this by herself. And she went in for the egg pickup yesterday, and the nurse turned to her and said, "Oh, you're doing this by your lonesome. That's really sad." And I was like, "What did she say to you?" She's like, "Yeah, she said that to me." And I'm like, "What did you do?" She's like, "Nothing. I was fine." She's like, "I'm completely secure in what I'm doing." And I just said to her, "Yeah, I'm doing it." And that just proves to me. So we've been coaching for 4 months. And so when she came to me, like that's what we work on. So we can get people, you know, we can get to that point where we're so secure in our path that people can say those ridiculously insensitive things, and it just deflects off us.
Yeah.
Like we can be so secure. Yeah, absolutely. And so if I can provide your audience with anything, it's hope. So we can actually be in this journey. We can not only get to the end, but we can still have this beautiful life, and it doesn't have to consume us right now while we're on the journey.
And I love that. And I was just getting ready to reiterate it, but you just said it. Having a life outside of infertility while you're still in the midst of infertility or having fertility issues, egg donor, anything. That is the tagline of the century right there. It's just not forgetting to live your life in the midst of it all. And I wish that I had done more of it. wish that I had
Yes,
done
me
more of it,
too.
Oh my good. So many trips I could have taken, just for a weekend getaway with my husband and stuff like that. And we did it at the end. We finally got it at the end. But the 4 years in between, it was like not happening. And we were drowning ourselves in our work. And it was just, I wish I could go back and change out one little thing, if anything. That is awesome. And I'm going to definitely put that in our show notes to remind everybody to live your life, even in the midst of it all. Oh my gosh, wonderful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And and owning our story, because I think that we get, for me, there was a lot of shame around it, and I didn't really share my journey
Mm-hmm.
with anyone. And even I got to the end, and it wasn't like I started coaching and everything in February of this year, and up until then I had never really embraced my story. There was still that little
Mm.
bit of shame around the fact that I had to outsource my pregnancy. And it wasn't, and I think it was like I just didn't accept it. And it wasn't until my little boy Luca was starting to express some interest in other women who were pregnant around us, and he was
Gotcha.
talking about, and we'd always said that we would tell him.
Okay.
We weren't going to keep it a secret, but we weren't ready to tell him because I still wasn't comfortable with the fact that I'd actually had to have someone else have my baby.
Yes,
And so
yes.
he was really asking, and he must have sensed us trying to evade the question, because he turned to me one day, and we were actually in the car, so I couldn't go anywhere. And he just said to me, "Mummy, was I in your tummy?" And my husband and I took
Mm,
this big deep breath in. We looked at each other, and I just turned to him and said, well, no, Luca, my tummy was broken. And so Auntie Renee had you in her tummy, and then my
wow.
tummy got better. And then I was able to have Sophie. And it was this moment where I was terrified, because I was like, I don't accept it. What am
Yeah.
I going to
Yeah.
do if he
How's he
doesn't?
gonna
And he
react?
just,
Yeah.
yeah. And he looked at us and went, okay, and started babbling on about something else. So it didn't bother him. He was so quick to
Gotta love
accept
kids.
it.
Gotta love
Yeah.
kids.
Oh man.
They
And
just make it
and
so much simpler, because we get older and
yes.
we forget how simple some things in life can be. Not everything is black and white, but we just forget the simplicity of it all, because he's like, look, I'm here anyway. It doesn't matter if my mom did it or my auntie did it. I'm here. I'm legal, so that, oh my gosh, kids. I
It's
love kids.
exactly right. And from the mouths of babes, like, it just doesn't matter. And we get so caught up on that picture in our head
Yeah,
and the way things are supposed to go
supposed to
and that
be. Yep.
perfection, that we forget the things that are really important. He didn't care. It didn't matter to him how he got here. He's here. And I think that we can really take a lesson out of that as well. And it wasn't until, and we've had so many beautiful moments since then. And the fact that he's accepted it, and the fact that whenever I tell people about our story, they could start crying. So
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful. And that has been I guess, the motivation, or the thing that has really pushed me to now help other women through it, because now I accept my story, and I love my story.
Hmm.
And that's what we're all
Hmm.
creating right now. We're all creating our own stories. And yeah,
Yeah.
we could have the perfect, yes, I started trying on my honeymoon, and then I fell pregnant straight away and had a baby. Or we can have this amazing story to tell our children, that
Hmm.
we fought so hard for them, and we didn't give up, and we love them before they even got here. So we can have one or the other. And if I had to choose, my epic 7-year journey that cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, many tears, so
Whew.
many ups and downs, or the perfect, I'd choose my story 100 times over,
Yeah.
because it's put me on this path. It's taught me so many things, and we've just got a great story.
Yeah,
And
and I
that's what it's all
love
about.
it. I love the fact that you allowed your painful situation to turn into something purposeful and passionate, and that you could give back. So those three things, it became your purpose, you became passionate about it, and it's allowing you to give back to other women and other men who
Hmm.
may need that mentor, that coach that we didn't get a chance to have, when
Yeah.
we were going through it. And that is amazing. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming on all the way from Australia. I'm so freaking excited. I cannot wait for everybody to hear your episode. And I'm going to put all of your information into the show link, so that anybody that comes and listens, I should say not watch, but listen, will be able to get in contact with you through your social media handles as well as your coaching services too, because I think that's important. Even in the Facebook groups, you can get really intimate in there, but sometimes people just want to speak to you and connect with you one-on-one. And so that is awesome. And I do appreciate you again. You have no idea what it means for you to come and speak to us today and give us your insight and your experience on infertility and surrogacy, and then becoming naturally pregnant.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all of the work that you're doing. I think it's so important to shine a light on this subject so that women just don't feel like they're alone.
Yeah. Thank